Hello, my name is Ben Friedman and welcome to the Beniverse. Today I am talking about the film King Richard starring Will Smith as Richard Williams, the father of Vanessa and Serena Williams. And this story tells the true life events of Richard Williams as he's training this Venus and Serena, the Williams sisters, at a very young age to become the tennis legends that they would become as young adults. And it is a sports drama, but definitely is more of a drama than anything. The sports element almost seems like a afterthought, and not in a bad way. It's just that it's not the focus of this film. The focus of this film is the family dynamic of the Williams and how Richard pushes them to be the best versions of themselves. And this is where I've heard the criticism of this film. What do you think of Richard Williams? Whether he is this amazing coach who just coached greatness out of these kids, or if whether he's too overbearing. And I think what works so well about this film, despite it being produced by or I don't know if it's produced, but it's definitely the Williams family had a part in making this film and was involved. What works so well, though, about this film is that it shows kind of those not nastier sides of Richard, but definitely those more intense sides, those ones where he maybe takes it too far as a parent, where he's just trying his best to give them a successful life, but it comes off as overbearing. I like that they show Richard as this complicated figure. He is not this either overbearing, intense guy, and he's not just this loving father. There's a lot more to him. And they get to blend the good with the bad. You get to see the positives of that relationship that he has with the daughters. The one thing you can come out of this film is that Richard loves his kids. And I think it's obvious, and just based on the way the Williams family talks about him, it seems pretty obvious that they definitely appreciate and love him just as much as he loves them. And then the negatives, again, is that just intensity he brings to them. And whether that's right or wrong to put that type of pressure on a kid. It does beg those questions, but it never feels judgmental in one way. At times it kind of feels like you are a fly on the wall of this story. You get to see these intimate moments with the family where they're discussing Venus and Serena's future, or where the mother tells Richard off, like, this is their life to make. Our plans for them, we can't focus on them. They have to make their decisions. And that's something Richard has to learn through the film. And with that all said, the reason this film works is because of the lead performances, specifically that of Will Smith. I've never seen Will Smith do a performance quite like this. It is not a mimic of Richard Williams. He truly captures the spirit of a tough but loving father. And he taps into something so emotionally raw in this, and so outwardly uncharismatic at times. This is not a typical Will Smith performance in the sense that Will Smith is just so easy to root for. You push back at Will Smith's character. It's not, like I said, all rainbows and butterflies with this character. It is the conflict throughout, and you see Will Smith struggle with this conflict himself. He doesn't know whether he's doing the right or wrong thing, but you also get to understand who Richard is. It doesn't just like put this guy down and he's this really demeaning figure to his daughters who's just super intense. You see why he's working so hard, why he does the things that he does, where he sends his girls, the life that he lived as a boy in a bad neighborhood. You get to see how that shapes him as a man, and also at times those vulnerabilities when he gets reminded of who they are and what they mean in America, them being African Americans. You get to see him fight against it, but not in a way that this film is about racism. But this film certainly talks about it. It certainly talks about the difference in communities. It definitely talks about schooling. It talks about the fact that tennis is a white sport and a rich sport. It talks about all these points, while it never focuses on it, it just points it out because this is a reality for their lives. Politics doesn't drive their lives, but it influences because it's always there. Because they show in this film that African Americans, that is just a part of their life. They have to deal with this type of discrimination, sadly. And that's what I like that Will Smith's able to capture. It never feels as if it is a film outside of what a family conflict, but everything feels infused to the story. All these elements bring the world of King Richard to life, in the sense that you have a place of time, community, who these characters are, and why they do what they do. Where typically sometimes movies like this would maybe show the one scene or two scenes where it's just like, oh, we're going to recount this, and oh, this is going to be going on in the background to kind of remind you this is during either, not for this film, but it's like during the civil rights, during the 1990s Rodney King riots, whatever it is, they kind of just remind you like, oh yeah, that's in the background. And that's not a knocking point on those films. What it's simply doing is this one decides to tell it way more naturally, where it's going on because it feels more like a part of life, where other films at times, I would say it just almost feels copy and pasted in, where it's just like, oh, this is the scene where we have to remind the audience what is going on in the world right now. This one feels so much more natural about it. And that's, I think, what this film's strength is its naturalness. All the performances feel real because it comes from a place of truth and honesty. And that's all centered with King Richard, Will Smith. He embodies just honesty and power and truth. And like I said, it's a performance I've never quite seen from Will Smith. I think at this point I would call him the shoo-in for Best Actor to win this year. And there are some issues with the film. It's a little slow at times. It's very standard in its way. You know how this film's going to end. It feels like beat for beat. You know, okay, now they're going to fail here, and now they kind of get to have this moment of redemption. You know when they have this fight, that this is kind of King Richard's learning point. You know that this isn't going to end this way because it wouldn't make sense for the story. Those points are predictable, but that doesn't mean that predictable means boring. Sometimes standard storytelling, it's a reason it's standard, is because it works. It works time after time. And that's what King Richard does. It works because you know the beats that are supposed to happen. And that's what like I said, I think there's a lot of great with it. And it's not my favorite film of the year for sure. I think it's the reason I'm mentioning it's not my favorite film of the year is because it's been talked about like crazy for Best Picture. Could this be the sleeper win of the year? I don't think it is. I think it's probably a little bit too standard and conventional for the Oscars. But with that said, I think there is a lot to be had, and I think this is going to be a huge crowd pleaser. One, because I think audiences are going to love to see Will Smith in this role to kind of show a side of him that people either didn't realize he had or forgot he had. And I just think it's a feel-good story about success and trying your hardest and vulnerability. It really is overcoming vulnerability and stubbornness and family dynamics, just having listening and talking and dialogue. Dialogue's so important in the family dynamic in this film, where it is these characters just talking about their lives and you see them making decisions through conversation. I think it's a really great movie, and I think it's going to be a Christmas pleaser. And my guess is you're going to see it all talked about for award season, and I really do think there's a good chance Will Smith walks away with the Academy Award for Best Actor. Anyway, that's my review. Check me out on the Beniverse on Twitter and Instagram. Ben and Brand See a Movie. We're talking about Home Alone with Brian Rowe this week, and bentothemovies.com, where some of my other reviews will be dropping. Not much right now because I'm focusing on the YouTube channel, but definitely towards the end of the year, I'll definitely be dropping my top 10 favorite films list and maybe my bottom 3 favorite films. It's weird. People always talk about top 10 list and bottom 10 list. One, I I don't particularly like focusing on the negative. And two, I also just refuse to watch bad movies. If I've heard a film is going to be awful, or it's such a disappointment, or it's just the worst film of the year, why would I watch it? I just don't waste my time. But I've been trying to seek out a few more films that I typically wouldn't this year as I've been focusing on reviewing. Anyway, that's my review of King Richard. Thanks for listening, guys. Check me out again on the Beneverse. Thank you, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe. Take care. Bye-bye.